You're on.
Okay, great. Hello, there's anybody listening yet? If not, hopefully you'll be listening a bit later when you get a chance to check in. So we're at Web Summit, so you may hear some background. It's still very active here. We've stolen actually somebody's booth because a lot of the companies have started to leave. It's the last time, 5 o'clock on a Thursday, and the summit closes at 5 o'clock, so we found a nice booth. Web Summit, for those who don't know, is probably Europe's preeminent investment stroke technology forum. All the companies that have anything to do with technology are here, so you'll have a whole section on automobiles, you have one on web development, of course, you've got AWS, you've got banks, you've got everybody is here. Quite a few crypto companies are here, and they have about 100,000 visitors. It really is quite an amazing place with very impressive speakers. But we didn't come to do any of that. We actually came to present and to meet potential partners. I mean, there's too many countries and too many opportunities for us to know them all. So when we come, we try to meet with potential new bank partners or IBAN providers, a whole range of opportunities, and also, of course, to check out the competition. Yesterday I gave a presentation. I think it went okay, nothing special, but it's quite nice to just get the opportunity and get some feedback. So we thought it would be a good idea to have a quick session with regards to what's happening with Crypterium. I haven't spoken for a while. Siranush and Andre and a few others have done the recent live streams. But I thought it'd be good to just catch up. So since the last time I spoke on a live stream, I suppose one of the good things is our token has had a very positive trajectory. The last few days it's fallen back a little bit, but that's almost inevitable in view of the significant rise. We grew something like 500% in 4 months. You eventually will get a period of stability and maybe a slight downturn. Nothing goes upwards forever. So I think that was a very nice positive for everybody. And I think a lot of that is due to vision, not the actual service that we have been providing in the last couple of months. I think the vision that we've been painting out is really one that people have bought into. I've met, well, at least 20 different influencers whilst I've been here, and no matter who we speak to, they say that we are well ahead of the game. We met an investment fund, not particularly for investment reasons, but we just met an investment fund that specializes in crypto, and they said they meet many companies looking for funding in the, let's say, in the wallet, the crypto wallet space. And when we showed her what our wallet and what our vision was, she said we were, well ahead of the game. By far more advanced than anybody else they can see. But where we're heading right now, we're trying to deliver a global service, and we hit a number of roadblocks when we try and deliver a global service. It is a very complicated space. So we had the vision, and we still have the same vision, that when we launched, we wanted to launch with a global capability. That meant we launched with UnionPay. The UnionPay card, when we issued it, we had a really successful launch period. A lot of people took up the card, a lot of people loaded the card and used the card, so it was very successful in that space. But it wasn't the perfect provider. So just to explain to you what happens when we issue a card like UnionPay or Visa, it doesn't really matter, but what practically happens is you'll work with a program manager and a card issuer. And we chose very carefully where we picked our card program manager and issuer, and I won't go into that again, but there were very positive reasons why we did where we did. Now that in itself, though, creates a number of issues because money is being sent all around the world, and sometimes banks put their heads in and say, where's all this money coming from or whatever. So we had to manage that very, very carefully, so we had to go with a relatively soft launch. The soft launch, though, I think went very successfully. But as we were working with the card, we came to the conclusion that there were definitely ways that we could do things much better. So, for example, the card that we issued, there was not an immediate upload of the top-up. So if you topped up your card with $100, for example, excuse me, it may take a few days to actually get onto the card, which for many people is acceptable, but also it's not the perfect service. Secondly, that card that we issued didn't have an NFC capability, or touch and pin, or whatever you want to call it. And again, that's pretty much a standard now in most cards that are issued, that you go in and you just touch the terminal. The idea that you have to remember your PIN code is almost becoming alien, or at least in Europe it is. In the US it's quite different. They don't really have such a high prevalence of the touch and pay. And then finally, they also did not have a virtual card capability. Now, the virtual card capability I will come on to again in a minute, but we thought that was a very important part of the process because, well, first of all, a person orders a card, and if it's being sent out to the Philippines, for example, it can take a couple of weeks to get there. Now, of course, we could use DHL and charge someone $60 to do that, but most people aren't prepared to go down that path. So it can take a few weeks. So having a virtual card from day one was something that we thought was important. So we launched the card. We had a very successful launch period. We were able to test it. It all seemed to go quite well. But as I said, we thought that there was something now that we could do much better. Once we saw people how they were using the card and all the other benefits that we could have from a much better card, we decided to put it on hold. Now, when you put a card on hold, we don't hold the money that is on that card. That is, of course, being managed by the card program manager, and it sits, for example, in Citibank in Hong Kong, just for your information. And we can't just suddenly ask for that money back, so that card sits there, and until we issue a new card, it carries on sitting there. Now, it took us a little bit longer to issue a new card than we expected, so when we put the card on hold, we thought we'd be able to launch the new card within a week and everything would be perfectly smooth, but unfortunately it took a little bit longer than we hoped. But I'm very pleased to say that from today, effectively, the new card is available. Now, what we are focusing on, first of all, is the existing cardholders. We have over 10,000 existing cardholders out there, and we want to make sure that our first activity is to issue those existing cardholders new cards. And that itself will take a couple of steps. So step number one is every single existing cardholder will be given a virtual card inside their mobile phone over the next few days. Then, once that is activated, we transfer across the balance that was outstanding on the existing card, and that would be seen inside your wallet. And then we would then start issuing the new plastic cards to replace the old cards. There is no cost for anybody involved in this process. This is a cost that is within the company that we're working with and on ourselves. So it's a delay, and it's been a little bit longer delay than we hoped. But the new card and the new service is fundamentally better than the old one. We've still got the same high limits. It may not be exactly the same, but it's still something like $10,000 a day, $60,000 a month, etc. And no one is going to be disadvantaged or really advantaged either way when it comes to that. It's a very high value card with high value limits. However, what you will now have is a virtual card inside your phone. And there is a benefit in that, of course, in that you can use it for the internet. I did a transaction yesterday. I would happily show you. Actually, I will do this in a minute. I'll show you my screen so you can see the transactions that took place. So I did an internet transaction yesterday on Amazon.com, and the transaction went through absolutely perfectly. The transaction showed up on my phone about 30 minutes later. The reason for that delay is not us, that's just how Amazon work. They batch some of their processing, and it comes through when they batch their process. But the transaction took place straight away. The other thing is we now load the card instantly. So if you load the card with any of your money, it would show on the system within minutes. I'm going to say instantly. It may still take, 10 or 15 minutes, but it's not the 2 or 3 days that it was previously. So immediately we've now got a virtual card inside the phone, and secondly we have a much better process inside the phone. So the transaction is shown, and all the activities take place immediately. Now, as far as the company is concerned, rather than now just talking about you as individuals and maybe how you could benefit from the new program, our vision has always been to provide a sort of one-stop shop of convenience inside our application. Everything that we want to be able to do should be simple to do inside the phone. And the first path to that is to give people almost instant access to things without them even realizing that they have them. And the perfect example is a virtual card. So if you are resident in the UK, for example, or the USA now, I think as well, you might be aware of, say, a bank called Revolut. Now, if you download the Revolut application, inside the Revolut application is an automatic virtual payment card. And you can use that payment card straight away by just dipping straight into your balance, of course, if you have a balance. And then if you want a plastic card, there's a subscription service. Now that's pretty much the model that we think works best. So imagine the scenario now whereby a customer downloads the application. Inside the application, the card is already prevalent. It's already there, sitting there on the screen. It's available. And it becomes active when they make it active, but it is sitting there. They don't have to do anything significant to make it active, maybe press a few buttons and tick a few boxes that they've read the terms and conditions, etc. But it is sitting there. And that gives us an ability to make our user experience significantly better, but also they become active much quicker than they would do otherwise. The process of actually applying for a card or doing that, for some people it's just too much hassle, why bother? But if it's sitting there, then that is a positive. And then most people, including me, I'm not happy with just a mobile solution. I actually still like the plastic, and I still want to use the plastic. So for me, that means I would still order the plastic card, but I have that backup solution. Now, take that scenario to some of the situations that we face ourselves in. So let's say, for sake of argument, as we are doing right now, I won't give you a name, but we are working with a company that effectively is a crypto mining solution. Now, those crypto miners are all over the globe. They are not all located in one small village. They are dotted all around the globe, and apparently this particular company has 20,000 of them. They want to be paid, and they get paid in crypto. Of course they get paid in crypto, but like everybody else, unfortunately still today, like everybody else, they still want to cash out into their fiat currency. Now, the Crypterium solution is really the only solution on the planet that can do that for them. So if they downloaded crypto.com, for example, that's okay. If you're in Singapore or the US, we can pay you out, but outside that, you cannot do that. So our solution now is a perfect solution for a company like that, because the person downloads the application, and there in the application is a virtual card for him. He knows the money is already on the card, and if he wanted, he can start spending it through the traditional means of that. Now, he may still have to wait a couple of weeks to get his plastic card, but it gives us a significant advantage over practically any other company that we are aware of. The same logic applies to an exchange. If we did a white label solution with an exchange, and we have several programs on the way where we're doing that, then what that means for that exchange is they can offer that solution immediately for their customer. So I understand, going back, that anybody who's sort of had their money sitting there for 4 weeks or 5 weeks and is a little bit annoyed at us, I apologize for that, but really it is for the greater good in the long run. Nobody has actually lost any of that money, and we're doing all the transfers, and everybody will get a new plastic card at no cost to that individual. Now, I'll take the vision forward a little bit further. So imagine now that you download the application, and there is the virtual card, and you can get the plastic card, and of course you can have the top-ups and the buy crypto and all the other features that are in there. We also now want to start thinking about what is next for our users. Now, if you click on our application at the moment, there are still a number of functions that say under maintenance. Now, under maintenance doesn't mean we're actually working on it full time trying to fix something. It really just means that it has not been our number one priority, but we have a service sitting there ready to launch. And there's a number of those. So, for example, the savings account will be launched very soon. We do have a separate solution for effectively buying crypto outside our application. We call that InstaButton. There are a number of features. But where we see the sort of the vision is that if we're going to be global, and really there is nobody else that is global. I know that people seem to think that it is easy to do what we do, but it is not. We are actually doing everything on a global level with the same level of service, whether you're in the Philippines or the UK. And you may say we're not doing a great level of service, or that we could be doing things better. Fair enough, but we are the only company that I'm aware of that can do this on a global level. And our solution then is to add what I would call a regional improvements. And the first thing that we want to then do is add a fiat currency capability. Now, fiat currency comes with all sorts of complications. And the biggest one, of course, is licensing. To be able to do a fiat currency capability, you have to be licensed. Crypterium is currently going through a licensing application in the UK, which would give us access to the UK in the same way that Coinbase has a license for the UK. They can issue cards to the UK. That is not core to us, however. What we are doing is we are searching for partners that can provide those facilities, and we can work with the licenses. Now, there are a number of companies that do this, and we are very far down the path of being able to launch that capability for Europe. Now, once we've tested that with Europe, then we can start thinking about further afield. But again, let's think about where the big picture is. You download our application, and with inside that application, you can receive crypto, you can top up crypto, you can send crypto, you can buy crypto, you can exchange crypto, and all of those functions are really very simple compared to, say, some of the alternatives that are out there. If you want to try this on an exchange and you've never used an exchange, good luck to you. Now, we do all of that with ease, and we're now adding the virtual card, and then soon thereafter we then add effectively IBAN numbers inside the application. So no longer will the customer have to say, well, I've just downloaded the transaction, where do I move my money? Well, you can actually move it now to your own IBAN sitting inside your own wallet. Now, this is still 3 or 4 months away, but it is taking up a significant amount of our development time. We found a couple of good partners that can do this with us, and it's not appropriate for me to give really more details about that, because we're not at that stage where I can do that. But that's just to give you a feel of where we're trying to head. So I'm not going to, I've made this mistake too many times in the past by giving exact dates, so I'm not going to give dates, but our vision is to be a single shop for all things crypto, but now we will also start to add the fiat currency services, and we're going to try and do that on a global scale, which, as far as we're aware of, nobody else is doing. All the challenger banks, for example, they're doing some great stuff, but most of them are actually not banks. Many of them don't even have a banking license. They're working with inside an e-money license or something similar, and they're getting their IBAN solutions provided for them by someone else. Well, there's no reason why we can't do that same logic, except we're coming at it from a different way. Crypto first, fiat second, global first, regional second. Whereas most challenger banks are regional fiat first. We might do a bit of crypto at some point. So that's sort of where we are on the big picture. We are really quite pleased with what we're going to roll out in the next few days, and then once we've got that out of the way, we can then start to switch back on some of those other functions that are available in the app, which may say under maintenance. And as I said, we have some other services like InstaButton, which would be effectively a button that just gets integrated inside somebody's website, and you can just buy crypto with a click of a button. So we do have some other services out there which are going to be, I think, very nice income earners for the company. And I think that's the key message right now. I think from a service perspective, we've been dealing, of course, with a higher number of complaints in the last 4 or 5 weeks because we've had these issues, and we've obviously tried to be as polite and as helpful as we can, but a lot of them we couldn't deal with. Just one other thing I want to talk about is sometimes our service may appear, for whatever reason, you might suddenly think it's gone slow today. It's not our IT systems that are going slow. Sometimes we're just faced with a barrage of attacks on our systems. Every new startup in this space will have this problem. Now, the way to handle that, of course, is automation. You automate as much of everything as you can, and you have hopefully fantastic security teams that are fighting off these attacks. But sometimes, if the attack is so significant, you have to switch off the automation as well and say, right, we're just going to make the transactions manual for a brief period of time. Now, that is, of course, a time-consuming and difficult process. And these automated attacks on us, there's not much we can do about it. We will suddenly get hit with, 50,000 registration attempts in 1 minute, or something that really just says to the system, you've got a problem now. And of course we have all the security in place, but the real level of security that sometimes we have to switch on is sometimes a manual intervention to make sure that nothing happens. Now, for anybody who happens to be listening that is having fun trying to maybe break through to our systems, you're wasting your time, because all our money, our custody service is sitting inside BitGo. So we provide a BitGo custody capability. So if they break into our systems, all they can do is cause a little bit of hassle. They're not actually going to be able to do very much, but they still have a lot of fun trying. And it really is just a problem that we are constantly being faced with. And I think, but this is speculation, that we've had more of this in the last few weeks, or last, say, 3 months, because of the rise of our token. We probably were not even on the radar of some of these big hacking firms, but suddenly they see the token rise and say, it looks like a company that maybe we should have an attack on. So we are facing that. We've never been breached yet, and hopefully we never will be breached. But the ultimate response sometimes is we have to just slow down everything and do a manual check on practically every single transaction until we're very comfortable that what we're doing is completely in line with the customer's wishes. Unfortunately, the crypto industry is a new industry, and it's a very interesting one for hackers to have a try at. They probably think it's easier to get inside a crypto company than maybe to try and get inside HSBC, for example. But so far they have completely failed. They just messed us up a few days every now and then to slow down our processes. So again, apologies if a transaction has taken a little bit longer than it appears, but that is the reason. So finishing off, it's not really the environment. I haven't got all the tools to sort of answer questions, etc. today. But finishing off, I think we've gone through a very, let's say, difficult 6 or 7 weeks while we were transitioning from one program to another, a few hits on our system, etc. But as of today, I'm feeling really very happy. We've seen the competition whilst we're here at Web Summit, and really there isn't what I would say a global competitor to us. Secondly, we're improving the service as of today. As I mentioned, our first focus is really just on making sure that all the existing customers get everything that is due to them. And once that is out the way, let's say that takes us a week or so to transition over, then we go back out and really push for the global cards. And I think pretty much once that is all out of the way, we can now start to divert the attention to some of these really other exciting opportunities that we're going for down the fiat currency and switching on some of those additional services. So I hope it's a useful update. I will probably do another one of these before the Christmas break, and hopefully I'll be able to tell you really some additional good news about other services that are starting to launch. So thank you for listening. I tried to make it short and sweet so you don't get bored, and I'll speak to you again in a month or so. So thank you very much.